It's time! And now, introducing your host, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, by way of Boston, Massachusetts, presenting live
the Bostonian versus the Book. Follow the show on Twitter at Boston versus the Book.
Here he is, Matt Perron!
Enjoy the show, enjoy the show, enjoy the show, enjoy the show.
Yo, what's up, Brigade? How are you? Welcome into a Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon episode of the Bostonian versus the Book, live on YouTube and live on X at Boston versus the Book. My name is Matt Perrault, with you for the next hour plus. Sports Grid TV's got the replay. Audio podcasts are found wherever you guys get your audio podcasts. About 15 minutes after the show concludes live, the audio podcast will pop up. If you ever missed the show live, you can always get it on the go on audio. For us today, well, we're going to talk to Klay, who is a member of the team that came in second to last in the Circa Millions. Why does it matter that mental handicappers came in second to last? Well, they won $25,000, and if they had bet their losers, they would have won $1 million. So we'll talk to them about the decision, or Klay, about how they chose losers, because betting teams to lose is equally as, if not more difficult than betting on teams to win. That's why Circa, in the brilliance of Derek Stevens, that's why they give prizes to the booby prize, the last place, the worst. But what has happened is that it's turned into a contest where it's not just the worst, it's actually the goal. They're intentionally betting or picking losers. Second to last one, mental handicappers, 25,000. So we'll go to Nebraska, talk to my Nebraska friends, maybe a Husker basketball or football question or two coming at you in about 15 minutes. Opening line, we'll look at the 4 games that will take place this weekend. Saturday, Sunday, we have the schedule for the NFC and AFC Divisional Rounds, and then we'll get into what happened last night with the Texans dominating the Pittsburgh Steelers and whether that was it for Aaron Rodgers. Is it a career? Will his final pass in the NFL be a pick six? Because his last pass last night was picked off in return for a touchdown. That game almost went over, amazingly enough. 7-6 at halftime, 30-6 the final. Not a good second half for the Pittsburgh Steelers by any means, but the Steelers, well, they just couldn't take advantage. The Texans gave them so many chances, 5 fumbles, 1 pick in the red zone. CJ Stroud played horribly. Offense was a joke. Nico Collins out with a concussion. They're going to New England. We'll get into that coming up in a couple of seconds. And then we'll later in the program talk a little bit about the controversy involving the Jacksonville Jaguar reporter and everything happening in the media around her commending Liam Cohen. Everyone's up in arms about that. And Brooks Koepka is back on the PGA Tour. And did Tiger Woods stick it to Phil Mickelson on purpose? We'll do that coming up on the program today. So lots of good things to get into. We'll bounce around for a bunch of different topics, but we start the show with the opening line being brought to you by Huel. It is the opening line being brought to you by Huel. Our first look at the 4 divisional round games that will take place this weekend. Now that we have the field that is set with 8 teams left, it's crazy, but we have 4 games this weekend, and then 3, and then 2 games, and then 1 game. We are down to just 7 games in the NFL and 1 game in college football between Miami and Indiana happening next Monday night. The football season's almost gone. Like this is where I start to get very nervous. I don't like this. It feels very uncomfortable that we don't have football to bet on. And I'm sorry, I can't get really behind the UFL. I wish I could, but I really can't. I tend to watch a lot of hockey and basketball and then other things, baseball and whatnot, before we get back to football next summer. But we are into the waning games of the NFL and college football season. Have you guys checked out Huel? I literally have Huel right here. These are what the ready to drink. This is what you're buying, the ready to drink. Today is a classic indication of why this stuff is great, because I am running around like a chicken with my head cut off today. I'm absolutely running around, and this is the only thing I've had in my body today, but it gives me 400 calories, 35 grams of protein, and I feel revved up and excited and good to go. And I've been battling illness, like you guys know. If you are watching the show, this has been put on screen a bunch, but that's a QR code that will take you to the high protein starter kit, which is 5 of those ready to drink packages. You get that out of the gate. New customers get 20% off their first purchase by using the code BVB20 or by going to Huel.com/BVB20. I am looking to trim down, bulk up, looking to increase my protein intake, and this is an awesome opportunity to be able to go ahead and do that. The bundle is all about consistency, that need for high protein complete meals, and then you get the powder as well, which lets you customize. You can put bananas and other things into your powder shake. I make that probably twice a week. Gluten-free, vegan, no artificial sweeteners, colors, or flavors. We're talking about under $5 per meal to get 35 plus grams of protein for your breakfast. Check it out by going to Huel.com/BVB. And you guys can use the code BVB20 there to save 20% off for new customers. Thank you to our friends at Huel for sponsoring BVB. So we go into game one of what will be a really fun weekend. The Buffalo Bills were favored at open up against the Denver Broncos. That number has now flipped. These odds brought to you by our friends at Bet Chris Arizona. We've got Denver now favored by 1, and the total is 46.5. If you are a Bills fan today, you are not happy with the NFL. You feel like you've been screwed. And look, I can't say I wouldn't either. If I was a Bills fan, I would be pretty angry at the schedule. This is a short week for the Buffalo Bills. They have to go on the road to take on Denver, who did not play last week. So the Broncos are sitting pat, getting ready to go. Buffalo traveled to Jacksonville on Sunday, and now Jacksonville has to go on a short week and play on Saturday. That is difficult, okay? They played the first game on Sunday. Now they play the first game on Saturday, and they must go to altitude to play the Denver Broncos. Bills fans thinking the NFL is screwing them over and giving them a really tough road. I'm not debating it. It is going to be difficult, but they want that game there, so that's where the Bills game is going to be. The Bills and the Broncos number, I think, is gonna ping pong all the way till we get to Saturday, going back and forth. There is definitely a difference of opinion in the market as to who should be favored. But if the Broncos do close as a dog, it would be just the 4th time in the last 40 years that a team off of a bye in the divisional round is not favored. Like, this is there's a couple of games that are kind of head scratchers in terms of the odds. And this is one of them where you're thinking to yourself, the Broncos are the number 1 seeded team in the AFC. The Broncos went 14-3. They're at home. They didn't play last week. The Bills played on the road, and yet the Bills opened as the favorite. Why? That didn't make a lot of sense to me. Again, a point spread is not a prediction as to what is going to happen. A point spread is a prediction as to what the professionals are going to bet. So to get the professionals to bet on the Broncos, they gave the home dog Broncos a point and a half, and immediately the money came in. First move was on Denver. That now flipped it to Denver -1. Will it close Denver -1? I'm not sure, but the Broncos as a dog this year were 4-1 ATS. As a favorite, they were 3-9. The Broncos were not a good team against the number, even though they were the number 1 seed in the AFC. They were not a good team against the number. They were 7-10 ATS, covering at just a 41% clip. So we'll watch that game as to how that number unfolds. But Bills fans are angry. First move on Denver. I think the Broncos are going to win the game outright. I don't think you need to worry about the point spread. I'm very surprised to see, again, the Bills being favored here simply because it's altitude. It's the best defense left in the NFL. Arguably, Texans or the Broncos, take your pick. But the Broncos pass rush on paper is better than that ferocious pass rush we saw last night from the Texans. So the Bills did not do a good job of protecting Josh Allen with the Jacksonville Jaguars getting after him. He was hit, he was battered, he was bruised, and now he goes to Denver to play against a really difficult Broncos defense. And I'll tell you what, the Broncos defense, they're not going to lose track of Brandon Cooks the same way that the Jaguars did. That's not going to happen. Number 2 game for the weekend on Saturday, it's going to be the 49ers on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. That number is 7. That's a big number. 7's a big number. And the reason why that's a really big number and an important number, frankly, to take a look at is because of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, as a 6-point favorite or more, is basically automatic. He's 13-0 straight up. 6-point favorite or more, 10-3 against the number, 13-0 in his career, and currently he's favored by 7. I mean, the 49ers are not even a shell of what they would be as to what they could be on paper. And now without George Kittle, hard to really take a long, hard look at this offense and saying, okay, Brock Purdy has got enough weapons to go to a place where in week 18, they couldn't muster anything. And that was with George Kittle. Now without George Kittle, difficult to see a win here for the 49ers. This is, at the moment, it's hard not to lay the 7 points with the Seattle Seahawks. To Sunday we go, and the Patriots at home against the Texans. I will be frank, I thought this number would be flipped. I thought the Patriots would be dogs. Texans are dogs. They're catching 3. The total being 41. The total, I think, at first blush, is the best bet in this game to go under for the Patriots and the Texans. Why? Well, look at the Patriots defense now being healthy with Milton Williams and Robert Spillane up the middle. The Texans ran the ball at will basically last night against the Steelers. They're not going to do that against the Patriots. Patriots are going to stop the run and make it be all about CJ Stroud, who had 5 fumbles and a pick in the red zone against the Steelers. That should have been a loss for the Texans. They were very lucky to win that game because Pittsburgh offense was so inept against that unbelievable Texans defense. But the offense put the ball on the field and put the ball in harm's way so much. CJ Stroud gets his first road win, but he did nothing to contribute to that road win. That was all the defense for the Houston Texans. They can't run the ball. It's all about Houston and throwing the ball with CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. I will be shocked if Nico Collins, after getting a concussion on Monday, is playing on Sunday. Now, maybe they can fib it and get him through protocol, but without Nico Collins, I don't think the Texans are going to score very much. On the flip side, I doubt the Patriots score more than 17 points against the Texans. So to me, that game's a dead under. But Mike Vrabel, in 3 home playoff games, has now given up a combined 45 points. So with the total being 41, I think the best bet going into the weekend on Sunday, best bet is to take the Texans and the Patriots and go under 41. This number, I think, will close in the 30s. I would be surprised. Mother Nature, though, again, the Chargers got a gift, and it looks like the Texans are going to get a gift in Foxborough because we're talking like 34 degrees at kickoff in January in New England for a Southern Dome team. I mean, this should be like 18 degrees with blustery winds and snow squalls coming up, but it's not going to be. It's going to be somewhat balmy in New England for January. But as of right now, I like the Patriots because Drake May is 11-0 as a 3-point favorite straight up or more this season. So I'd lean Patriots, but the best bet I think would be the under. And then finally, the Rams and the Bears, the number is 4. Bears are at home. The total is down to 50. It was 51.5 last night. Big move on the under already for the Rams and the Bears. And I can't say I hate that at all with the Rams and the Bears, just because I think you're looking at a game in which in the playoffs, it's going to be 9 degrees at kickoff at Soldier Field for an LA-based West Coast Dome team going on the road again in the divisional round, where last year LA went to Philadelphia and failed in the weather. Now they're taking on the Bears team that has been so fortuitous in the turnover margin this year. It's amazing. And the Rams laying 4 as road favorites. Home dogs of 4 points or more over the last 50 years in the postseason are 9-0 against the spread. That is not a small number in a small sample size. That's 9 games. So if you like the Bears, if you're a Bears fan, you're loving that stat, okay? It's Matthew Stafford and company. It's an awesome offense. It's a good defense. And yet the Bears have just found ways to pull rabbits out of the hat consistently like they did down 18 in the second half to the Green Bay Packers last week to win this game. Tough to back a road team and lay points in the NFL playoff-wise. We could have, depending on what happens with the Bills game, the Bills could be favorites at kickoff. We'll see what happens there. But the Rams are going to be favored. What number, we'll see. But road favorites in the NFL in the divisional round, very, very rare to have that happen. Very, very rare for that happens. Circa and BetUS just went to 49.5. So again, here's the number on the, thank you, Henry. It's a crash on the under. I think that's it. I think that's a good play. Ross is asking what number for Nico Collins concussion? Number 2. That's his second. So yes, and Christian Gonzalez does have a concussion, but I think he plays. Gonzalez walked off the field under his own power. They took a cart for Nico Collins last night. So Patriots played and they're at home. They're not traveling. Houston played on the road. They're traveling both, back from Pittsburgh and then to New England, and they're playing on Sunday after playing on Monday. I don't know. I don't see it. The Pats are up to 3.5 now. Woo! Don't know if I buy that. Not sure I'm loving on that. All right. We talked about this yesterday. We love honoring Brigade Proxy Service members, and the Brigade Proxy Service went through a whole thing with Dave this year, obviously, with his passing, and Tom stepped up and did an unbelievable job of taking care of all of our clients, making sure they got their picks in, making sure they were there. And, well, we put it up yesterday. We'll put it up again. Our friends from Omaha, our friends from Nebraska, mental handicappers, 27, 61, and 2. If you flip that to betting against that, if you faded that, they went 61, 27, and 2. That's better than the record of the team that won $1 million. I can't wait to talk to Klay. We've been texting back and forth, and he's joining us here on BVB. Klay, what's up, my friend? Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. What week did you guys determine you were going for last place? When did you say, you know what? We got off to a rough start. Let's go to the bottom.
Yeah, so I want to say we don't know this for sure. We'll have to go back to the text thread and look a little closer, but I want to say it was after week 4. We weren't like terrible anywhere in the running for last place like the first quarter, but I know we were pretty bad. And the guys, there's 5 of us together on this pick, and each one of us gets a pick each week, and we just looked at it and like, it's going to be a hard fight to get back up towards the top. Does last place play anything? One of the guys asked, and I said, well, 100,000. So maybe we should just start trying to go ahead and lose from here on out and see where it takes us.
So it's as hard to pick losers as it is to pick winners. So did you change the way you went about picking games, or do you just say, look, we're off to a rough start. Let's just keep on doing what we're doing because we're going to be wrong all the time anyway. So let's making sure, or did you alter things at all to make sure, or at least attempt to make sure that you lost?
We didn't change a single thing. We actually just kept going with what we had. And we just said, all right, let's just try and pick losers. So the games that the first 4 weeks we were trying to pick winners, we just took the opposite of what we liked, and luckily just got hot. But we were just so bad the whole year. I don't think we even got within 2 or 3 games of winning a quarter prize last place. We just were that consistently bad.
So did anybody realize that if you faded all of your plays, that you guys would have won $1 million? You won 25,000 by coming in second to last, which is nothing to be upset about. You get a check for $25,000. That's amazing. You come to Vegas, you get to party here and hang out at Circa. But did anybody go, well, damn, if we faded it, we would have won $1 million?
Yeah, looking the last couple weeks at the inverted record, I started thinking, because I got my own personal pick with just my own 5, and I did good this year. better than normal, but I was still 4 or 5 games roughly out of 100th place, getting in the money there. And I just started kicking myself thinking, man, I should have just taken the opposite of what we were doing the whole way.
I mean, I think I picked up on it after week 16. Somebody said, hey, Mental Handicappers is actually in the running for the booby prize. And I was like, huh, when did the pressure set in when you guys realized that you might actually be able to cash?
So I want to say it was after week 15, we were on the board that they posted for, I think we were tied for third to last at that point. But then we had a really good week. I think we went 0-5. And week 16, we were going into the week in last place by a full game and a half, I believe. And so week 16, it really set in. And then we had a bad week. We went 3-1-1 week 16. And then we went week 17, I believe we were 2-3. And then the last week we went 1-4.
So the 1-4 got you the second place. Cause I put it on the screen. I'll put it on again. I mean, you guys, JC Indicate 1 came in 2.5 points ahead of you guys, or lower than you guys, if you will. But Son of David came in tied with you guys. Were you paying attention to what other teams were doing around you?
We weren't up until week 18. We were following everybody. And then once the week 18, we were behind GC Indicate, and they had all the same games except for one, I believe. So we were a game and a half behind going into week 18. So we knew that one wasn't going to be able to be caught. So we were just hoping the guys that were tied with us for second and we're going to drop. And a team that was actually lower than us, the Son of David, they went 0-5 week 18, and that's how they got tied for second. Yep.
Because it would have been 50K, right? You guys would have cleared 50?
So, yep. And we actually blamed Josh Allen for that missed throw in overtime against the Eagles. That 2-point conversion cost us $25K.
Oh no. That 2-point play cost you $25,000?
Yeah, and he was wide open too. Just not a throw he misses ever, but he did that day.
What was the group thread like? What was the group chat like after that? Did you guys know like that was it?
Yeah, well, that was week 17. That was the week we went 2-3. So
Okay.
we were like, I don't know, we might be out of it now at this point. And then once we saw we were still tied for second going 2-3 week 17, it was like, all right, let's just get our picks in a row and figure this out.
So you guys get here to Vegas to accept the check, to accept your winnings. People are walking into that, with their chests all out. They're getting their blue coats. They're all excited. What's it like walking in going, yeah, we were the second worst in this entire thing and we're taking home money? What was that feeling like for you guys?
Well, to tell you the truth, we'd been drinking quite a bit. So we were feeling pretty good going into that, and we were just wanting to have the best time possible. So, I mean, we talked to a bunch of guys, and even guys that were getting a lot bigger checks than us. And 2 of my buddies took a picture with the nursing student that won the survivor split. So that we were just having a good time with it all. And it was a lot of fun. The whole party was just set up awesome. And then to end the night walking through the sports book and everything, the whole casino, and they did like a whole parade and then went up to Legacy Club. It was a really cool experience, and they hooked everything up just awesome.
So you guys have been in this tournament for a couple of years now, and now that you've gotten a taste for cashing and getting money, when you go into it next year, what do you do? Do you try to win next year, or do you keep the same strategy? Like, how does that change things when you've been rewarded for losing? Your picks being horrible earned you a $25K check.
We talked about this weekend, but the only problem is they only pay the bottom 2 spots. So I think we should just get our stuff together and hopefully do better. Even though if it would have been a tournament that started week 4, I think we would have won the $1 million prize. We were that good because we were trying to pick losers the whole way through there.
Could you do 2 teams next year and pick one and then fade the other? Go and say, all right, we're gonna bet this is what we think, and then we're gonna take the opposite for the other team.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Is our group getting together and getting 2 picks for that, and we try and do winners and losers, and then I thought about getting an extra pick for myself too, personally, and just fading everything just to try and get everything lined up to, I don't know. 25K was awesome, but $1 million, changes your life. So
what was the strategy to go into picking losers? Like, did you fade the public or ride with the public? What after week 4, what did you guys use from a handicapping standpoint to try to find a loser?
Well, I've got like a formula that I do myself, but the other guys just literally just almost wing it. Like there's 3 of them at least that are not looking at injury reports or weather, nothing. So it literally is just a luck of the draw type of thing for us. And towards the ending, the last couple weeks, we did talk about picks after the 3-1-1 week. So the last 2 weeks, we talked about picks like, maybe we should go with something else other than this and reasons why, and throwing it back and forth. But no, there was never any animosity or anything. We just talked it out the last 2 weeks, and lucky enough for it to at least work out for 25K.
So 5 guys split 5, each get 5K each. Do you have any of it left? Did you guys blow it all in Vegas?
Well, one person did. I'll leave him nameless, but I think the other guys all have some money. I broke even straight across the board the whole weekend, so I brought home the 5K, which was nice. But we had pretty good luck sports betting for the most part, and then Baccarat got hot too on Sunday, so that helps out.
Very nice. Would you do it all again? If someone told you this is, hey, you're going to come in second to last, you're not going to be taking home any positive, attaboys, but it's worth 25K. Would you do it again?
Absolutely. We met a couple guys that were in the top 10 of the millions, and they were saying that this is unbelievable. How'd you pick losers? This is impossible. They couldn't believe how bad it was, but
you beat everybody. You had a better, it's insane. You had a better record than the guy that just set the record for the best record of all time. You guys beat the best. That you flipped it around, and if your losers were winners, you guys would have the record for the best Circa Millions of all time record.
Yeah, that's pretty insane to think about, but also one of those deals where you woulda, shoulda, coulda type of deal.
Okay.
That would have been awesome, but guess we'll give it a try next year and see if we can do better or worse. Who knows?
What type of guy are you in terms of mentally? Are you able to just like put that in your head and like keep going forward, or is that going to gnaw at you going like, well, damn, if we could have been a millionaire, we could have won $1 million if we just bet against ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, it was discussed, but no, it's not making me lose any sleep or anything like that over that deal. So, I mean, it is what it is. You just throw it out there and see what happens in your 5 picks each week, and hopefully have better luck in Survivor. I haven't made it too far the last couple of years.
It's a difficult deal to do. All right, well, I can't let you go without asking you about the 4 games this weekend, because everybody's going to want to fade your pick. So let's find out what you would play if you were in the contest right now. Broncos -1 against the Bills. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Broncos. I think Josh Allen's so banged up, and we hate him, so he can go get benched and go home.
The second game, it's a big number. Seattle's laying 7 against the 49ers. Do you like points, or do you think the Seahawks roll?
I think the injuries with San Francisco and the rest Seattle got will make the huge difference in this one. And I really do think Seattle will kind of stomp San Francisco, win by 10 or more.
All right, my Patriots are laying 3 against the Texans defense that just destroyed a Steelers offense in Pittsburgh. Pats -3. You're taking the Texans.
I would take the the Patriots.
Me, Bills fans are mad at you. I'm mad at you. Everyone's concerned now.
Yeah. So no, I would take the Patriots. I think little fluky game Sunday night. I think the defense played well enough though to keep CJ from doing too much against scoring too much. So I think it'll be low scoring too, but I would expect the Pats to cover the number.
And then finally, you have a Rams team favored by 4 on the road. This has not been a good spot historically for teams on the road laying points in the playoffs. Bears +4 or Rams laying the points?
Well, I'm a diehard Rams fan, so I'm taking the Rams. Do I love it? No, the 4 seems a little odd to me, but I think they go in there, and I just think they dominate the Bears. Just
It's a
I think they had too
Good.
much of an emotional win for the Bears. That was their Super Bowl to beat up on the Packers in the playoffs, and I don't think they'll bounce back the way they should.
It's a good point. I mean, I think that there is people aren't talking a lot about the emotional letdown that could be coming here for the Bears after that win over the Packers. Are you a Husker fan, or is the group a Husker fan?
We are all Husker fans.
Okay. So how are you handling the fact that your football team did not end well? You lost your quarterback to Oregon, but your basketball team can't lose. Is it a weird place to be?
Yeah, I would say here with at least my friend group, I can't speak for more people, but our friend group, we're just saying NIL money, ditch giving any to the football team, give it all to Fred, and let's just keep winning basketball.
Pinnacle's a good place to be right now. It's a fun, rocking environment for Huskers. Are undefeated as they roll into the heart of their Big Ten schedule. It's, I mean, look, Hoiberg did it in this world before it was ever cool to do it at Iowa State. This is turning over the roster every year. He's a magician in these situations, and so far, so good. Coach of the Year candidate, Fred Hoiberg at Nebraska, with what's going on with the Huskers. Klay, I can't wait to see you guys back out here coming up this summer. Congratulations. So happy for you guys. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy it. I'm glad you took some of your money home. I was afraid that some of you guys wouldn't, but not a shock. You guys didn't. Some of you guys came home broke on it, but congratulations on the 25K.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
That is Klay from Mental Handicappers joining us here on the Bostonian versus the book. They came in second to last in Circa Millions. Great stuff with him to get him on the program. And hey, they didn't do horribly down the stretch. I mean, they wanted to be worse, but they didn't do horribly. So, I mean, he picked the Patriots, he picked the Broncos. I don't know. We might be DOA on that. We may have some problems when it comes to that, but we do have some breaking news. Good job out of the chat to go ahead and alert us for this, but the LA Chargers have fired offensive coordinator Greg Roman. I mean, he was essentially fired in the post-game press conference by Jim Harbaugh when he was asked about the offense not scoring a touchdown in the playoffs and Justin Herbert looking as poor as he did against a very good and healthy Patriots defense, that he was asked about the offense and the offensive coordinator, and he said, we're going to take a look at that. I mean, that was sort of a telegraph that, okay, Greg Roman is going to be fired as the OC in LA for the Chargers. So he is out. I would imagine that they're going to be pretty aggressive in that department, trying to find an offensive mind, an offensive guru, if you will, because Justin Herbert has looked so bad in the playoffs in his career that this is becoming a much bigger narrative around Herbert's career than anything else, that he simply cannot win in the playoffs. And he's been lucky to be in the shadow of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, where the heat really hasn't been on Justin Herbert the way it probably should be because of his poor play in the postseason. So now he being, Herbert now getting a new offensive coordinator next year with Jim Harbaugh. If that offensive line can get healthy and they get Alt back and they can find some other additions to help that offensive line, they've got a good receiving core. They've got a good running back group. Let's see where they go coming forward. So an interesting situation coming up with this. Whoa, Josie Myers is breaking news left and right. We got another breaking news story. All right. NBA this time. And this is something that we all have been watching for a while. Shams is reporting that Anthony Davis will undergo surgery on his injured hand, and he will miss several months for Anthony Davis. Man, that trade for Luka keeps on looking better and better, huh? My God. Yikes. That is, if you're a Dallas fan, you're just throwing your hands up going, goodness gracious. So he's out for several months. You can flush the year down the toilet, even though it's been a very good start to the career for Cooper Flagg for the Dallas Mavericks. He's had some very impressive games. He's very young, and so we'll see where he develops and as he continues his career the next 5-6 years. What does Dallas look like being built around Cooper Flagg? But Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving's coming back at some point. from the ACL injury this season. He's not back yet. So, and they're still shopping him. Yes, that's right, Eric. They're still shopping him. And frankly, I think people would take him. I think from a playoff run perspective, I think there's teams that would take Anthony Davis, even with the injury to his hand. He's expected to have a full recovery from the hand injury, but normally players who are going to miss several months do not get traded, but you can have waivers and such, and you can get that done if you need to. So, two big breaking news stories, one in the NFL and one in the NBA. Let's talk about last night's loss for the Steelers. All right, what happened last night and what happened this weekend? Well, that was a 7-6 deficit at the break. And Mike Tomlin in the postseason, has never been able to come back to win a game in which he has been trailing at half in the playoffs. Mike Tomlin now has not won a playoff game since 2016, and Aaron Rodgers was pretty salty after the game. He was pretty angry at some of the line of questionings from the media about Mike Tomlin, about his relationship with Mike Tomlin, and whether Mike Tomlin should be on the hot seat or not in Pittsburgh. And frankly, I'm not a Steeler fan. So as not being a Steeler fan, I look at Mike Tomlin, I look at the number of wins in the regular season, I look at the above 500 record, the streak he has been on, and I understand why outsiders like me look at Mike Tomlin and say, he's a really good coach. If you fire him, he will be hired the next day by somebody in the NFL. However, if you are a Steeler fan and you are judging coaches on championships and you are judging progress, it's very difficult to look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and think that next year they bring back Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers and anything changes for the Pittsburgh Steelers going forward. They are an old team. They have a 40-plus-year-old quarterback. They have a coach that's been there for way too long in NFL years. I mean, he is a dinosaur in so many ways. He's still young. He's still a very good coach. I just think it's time for both sides to separate. I've read enough. I've seen enough. I've talked to enough Steeler fans about this that it's toxic right now, because every Steeler fan went into that game last night expecting to lose, and they did not have any confidence in their coach because he has not given them any reason to have confidence up against a team where for the first time in 23 games with fans in the stands on Monday night, the Steelers lost. And they were right there. They're down 7-6. The turnover margin being what it was, to only get 3 points off of all those mistakes by the Texans last night. CJ Stroud was giving the game to Pittsburgh, and yet they were not able to do anything with the opportunities that they got. That can't happen. In the postseason, the most important stat, the most telling stat for a win or a loss in the playoffs is the turnover margin. And when you dominate the turnover margin, you should win the game. Now, I know Aaron threw a pick six, and I know there's all these different things that go on, but I look at that team until about halfway through the fourth quarter, and they were in the game. And then the strip sack fumble gets returned for a touchdown. And then the pick six happens and gets returned for a touchdown. That was all done by the Texans. If you want a Texans defense, if you want to know why the Patriots are favored, it's because the books are looking at the offense for the Texans and they're saying that offense is awful. And they're not going to be able to run the football against the Patriots the same way that they did against the Steelers. And now Nico Collins could be out. Where's the offense coming from the Texans? And CJ Stroud was trying to give that game away. And so that's why the Patriots are favored. That's why they're laying 3 at home, because of the Texans offense, not their defense. Defense is great. Arguably the best defense left in the NFL. Denver would have something to say about that. But I mean, that's a ferocious, difficult defense to stop. So from an Aaron Rodgers standpoint, and someone in the chat is mentioning this, and I think it's an interesting point from Ish, doubt Rodgers would want his last pass to be a pick six. I don't know if he has a choice. Like, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers will have a choice in that matter as to whether or not his last pass will be a pick six. That was kind of the idea in the comments that were said when Tom Brady's last pass with the Patriots was an interception, and everybody was like, oh, his last pass with the Patriots will not be a pick. Well, it was. He just happened to go to Tampa and win a Super Bowl. I don't think Aaron Rodgers goes to a different team. I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to relocate again, wants to read and learn a new playbook and a new offensive line in a new city with a new coaching staff. I think if Mike Tomlin is retained by the Steelers, there's probably a pretty good chance that Aaron Rodgers comes back. But I think there is a level of anger in Pittsburgh if that were to be the decision, if the team did decide we're bringing back Mike Tomlin, we're bringing back Aaron Rodgers, I think the market would say, well, what's going to be different, right? New coach in Baltimore. We don't know who that's going to be yet. New coach in Cleveland. Don't know who is going to be there. So are we expecting the Steelers to win the division? Are we going to keep consistency because our two big arch rivals have both chosen to fire their coach? Or is it a better decision to fire our coach as well because our other two chief rivals are equally firing their coaches, and so we're going to go and make a move? Or is there concern that Cincinnati is keeping Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow comes back, and that the Bengals, with their consistency, that they might be the team to beat next year in the division? And if it's just the Bengals, you got to feel pretty good. Mike Tomlin against Zach Taylor, I would take Mike Tomlin every day in that situation. Who's the quarterback? It's not going to be Mason Rudolph, and maybe it's Mason Rudolph just for next season. You're going to draft a quarterback in the first round, and there's your heir apparent, your new coach, your new quarterback, and that's the new era. But you're going to have to accept being bad. I mean, Cam Hayward, is he coming back? Would he be gone? What do you do with TJ Watt? Do you look to trade TJ? We're going to burn to the ground. Why have TJ Watt? Why pay him all that money if you're not going to be competitive? So this is the problem that the Steelers, you kind of can't do this both at the same time. You can't rebuild and win at the same time. You have to stink for a while. Look what the Patriots did, right? You got to stink. You got to find your coach. You got to find your quarterback. And when you do that, then you can start to spend and build up everything around those two people. And the Patriots hit on their free agents, and they've done a good job with their defense. And so you can see how it can be done. But the Patriots, that was their first playoff game, the first playoff win in 6 years. The Steelers have been consistently good for almost my entire life. They've had 3 coaches in my life, and they've been consistently good every single year. So now there's a problem, obviously, with what direction you want to take this franchise if you're Pittsburgh. Are you going to try to rebuild? You fire Tomlin, you get rid of Rodgers, you go and be bad. Or do you bring back Tomlin? Do you bring back Rodgers? Do you try to get the guys help and reconstitute this aging roster and try with Jalen Ramsey and company to hope that they play better next year? But you had a home playoff game. I mean, a home playoff game. When you have a home playoff game, you expect in Pittsburgh, you expect to win that game. And they didn't. They got housed in the fourth quarter. Embarrassed. Ross is asking, you don't think he would go to Vegas with Tomlin? I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would relocate with Mike Tomlin, but I can tell you right now, Aaron Rodgers is not playing quarterback next year for the Las Vegas Raiders. That's not happening, okay? The Raiders are drafting, by everything I have read, seen, and heard, the Raiders are drafting Mendoza, and the Raiders are going to look to play him very quickly. So Aaron Rodgers coming here knowing the number 1 pick overall is sitting right behind him. Mendoza's playing next year. It's just a matter of when. Is it game 1 or is it like game 7? But Mendoza's playing in Vegas next year. Like, he's playing here next year. So that I would be very surprised if Rodgers would come. Even if Mike Tomlin did show up in Vegas, I would be very surprised if Aaron Rodgers was tied. It was here playing quarterback. So, I mean, and you could say it makes sense, right? Rodgers plays for half the year. He hands over to Mendoza, but that's not really what Rodgers is going to look to do. JC from KC. Rodgers will ride up in the sunset with his imaginary wife. Isn't that weird? that whole wife story was really, he just started wearing a wedding ring and like nobody knows who the wife is. Like who's Aaron Rodgers' wife? Like, he's married, but like we have no like history to it. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So it was kind of a weird kind of a weird deal for that for sure. Yeah, the Raiders have no offensive line. See, well, here's the thing. They have a lot of cap space though, Russ. So I would expect them to be extremely aggressive in the offensive line market. So I think they'll be drafting offensive linemen. They're going to be signing offensive linemen. I mean, the Bears rebuilt their offensive line in 1 year. The Patriots rebuilt their offensive line in 1 year. You can rebuild your offensive line in 1 year. It's possible. So that's where I would say, I understand the point that like the offensive line's awful in Vegas because it is, but you can rebuild it pretty quickly. So it's just, you got to hit on the free agents. You got to hit on the draft picks, but the Patriots have a new left tackle. They have a new left guard. They have a new right guard. You can do the Bears rather got a new center and 2 new guards, and look what they turned into. So again, who's the coach? Spytek, the GM, is going to have to go and make some moves, but Mendoza's not playing behind this offensive line for the Raiders. That's not happening. So you have to worry about that. But I'm not as high on Mendoza as so many other people here in this market. I mean, there's people who watched him who have been. I think he's somewhat of a statue, and I get the point that he is quick enough, but he is playing behind a very good offensive line in Indiana, and he is not running a pro style offense at Indiana. It's an RPO based college type offense that has at times worked in the NFL. I'm just not as in love with Mendoza as everybody else. I love him as a college quarterback. I think he's tremendous. Best player in the country by far. It just, does that translate to the pros? We'll see. I mean, I'm not a quarterback evaluator, but I'm just not in love with Mendoza as a prospect in the NFL. I think there's some others in there that I would, if I were the Raiders, I would trade the pick. And I think there's some other quarterbacks in this draft that I like better later in the draft that, Chambliss, I love, Eric. Like, I think Trinidad Chambliss, I think, has the potential to be an absolute stud. And I think you could get him in the first round, like at pick 30. And I think he'll still be on the board late. And if I were the Raiders, that's what I would do. I would trade the number 1 pick to get multiple picks in this draft. I would take an offensive lineman, like I'd give it to the Jets, or I'd give it to somebody who wants to come up to get their quarterback, who wants Mendoza. So, go get a haul for the first pick, draft your left tackle, get the best tackle in the draft, get a defensive lineman to go opposite Max Crosby, or trade Max Crosby for another first round pick, and then find, get a left tackle, get a defensive end, and then go get Chambliss later in the draft. That's what I would do. I mean, but I don't like Dante Moore or Mendoza at the top of the draft. I don't like either one with that level of draft capital that you would have to expend to draft a guy 1 or 2. It means he's playing within the first, 6 games, 7 games. The Patriots drafted Drake May with the 3rd pick in the draft, and Drake May had replaced Mac Jones by week 7. So I think that's potentially what you're looking at here for Mendoza. And that, I think, is a worry spot for me. The Raiders need a ton of work. Their roster is more than just one quarterback, and why look to ruin a quarterback? In particular, Chambliss is way more mobile. So like the offensive line not being great, it's okay because that guy can move. He can get away from pass rushes pretty fast. So yeah, I agree. As Chambliss does have the potential to be the best quarterback in the draft. Yeah. In the class, I like him a lot. So, and yes, the NCAA did deny Chambliss his 6th year. Yes, he's going into the draft. So he's going to be picked. So that's what I would do. If I was the Raiders, that's what I would do. But again, I'm not a GM and I'm not the Raiders. Let's make some bets. Ooh, I disagree with that. The Mendoza doesn't have that dog in him. I disagree. I think he's a really good kid he's just a different cat, right? I think he is a different, he's built differently than a lot of people. His brain's built differently. He's wired differently. So I think he's got the dog in him for sure. He's playing for, look who he's playing for. I'm not worried about the mental makeup of Mendoza. I'm not worried about him as a person. I'm not worried about him as a leader. I'm not worried about him anything off the field, I'm not worried at all about Mendoza. I am worried about his abilities. I am worried about his mobility. I'm worried about his offensive abilities to read defenses. Those are the things I'm worried about. I'm not worried about him off the field. I like him a lot. I personality wise, leadership wise, I have no questions about Mendoza at all. I think he's a really solid individual who could do, I think he's going to do big things in the NFL if he's put in the right position. I don't think the Raiders is the right position for him to get into. Just the Picks being brought to you by the Betting Pros Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. If you're looking for NBA bets for tonight, you guys can go and download the Betting Pros app and look at the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet, or you guys can go to bettingpros.com/props to check out the Betting Pros Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. I am taking the Spurs +9 against the Thunder. Now, I took it at 8 last night. I like it even better at 9. I don't understand this. Okay, last 3 games, all in December, the OKC Thunder being favored in all of them, double-digit favorites in 2 of them, and the Spurs won all 3 games outright. Do I think the Spurs go into OKC and beat the Thunder tonight outright? No. I like the Thunder to win the game, but I'm not laying 9 points with the Thunder or 8.5 points with the Thunder. They haven't covered a game in 5 games. They're not covering numbers. I don't understand the number. I don't understand this. This is too heavy. San Antonio +9 on the road at the Thunder. Big game in college basketball. Iowa State is on the road at KU. By last check, this is only the 4th time, I think, ever in the gambling spaces that Kansas is a home dog in conference play. This doesn't happen. Okay. KU at Fog Allen is never a dog. You are never getting points when KU's playing at Fog Allen. However, Iowa State's undefeated. Iowa State's offensive and defensive efficiency is off the charts. They have a veteran point guard in Lipsy, which I think will handle the pressure. And frankly, I don't know what to make of the star freshman for KU, who is dealing with a hamstring and a quad injury. He has played the last 3 games, but I think Iowa State's defense is going to be able to take care of business here tonight for Peterson and company. He needs to have an unbelievable performance for KU to cover this. Could he? Absolutely. But I'll take the Cyclones. I'll lay the 3.5 points with Iowa State 16-0 every single time these two teams get together. It's a bigger game for Iowa State than it is KU. KU is not ever looking at Iowa State as a rival, but Iowa State has looked at Kansas as the barometer forever. KU unranked, Iowa State top 5 in the country, been there for a while. This is a big moment for this season for Iowa State. I'll lay it with T. Johnsonberger's team on the road, laying 3.5 to KU tonight. Big game in the Big 12. Prop bet time. All right, let's go to hockey for the BVB prop bet of the day. I am coming in with Pittsburgh and Tampa here. First period goals, number 1 offense, Tampa Bay. Number 4 offense in Pittsburgh. I'm looking at a 7-3 mark to a first period over the last 10 games for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is 9-1 over their last 10 games to a goal in the first 10 minutes. Tampa plays an up-tempo style. The total is 6.5. We're going first period over. I also don't mind a goal in the first 10 minutes. If you want to bet the gift in that, go ahead. Pittsburgh offense has been pretty impressive over the last couple of weeks. Tampa scores a ton of goals in the first period. We are going over 1.5 goals in the first period at -135 for Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay tonight in the NHL. So 3 bets in 3 sports. Do not parlay the bets. Do not parlay them. No. Oh my, that's expensive. The gift is -166. Yuck. That's why I like the first period over more, just from a price perspective. 166. My goodness, that's expensive to pay for a goal in the first 10 minutes. But I do think it hits. So we only pay the juice when we lose, like we've talked about for a long period of time with that. Goal in the first 5 is +165. I guess you can take a flyer on that. First 5 minutes, probably, but that would be fast. So if you parlay gift in the over, that's the parlay you're talking about. Goal in the first 10 minutes and over 1.5 goals is even money. Okay. Not horrible. That's not an awful way of approaching it. If you want to get the juice down, you don't want to pay that much juice. Don't hate that on that. We don't talk much golf on the program, but there is a golf story that I think is worth bringing up because Brooks Koepka is back on the PGA Tour. And the PGA Tour has made a loophole for all of the live players if they want to come back to play on the PGA Tour. And this has been brought up as an opportunity to screw over Phil Mickelson. The Tiger Woods may have been involved in this in some form or fashion to screw over Phil, and Phil actually is taking notice. Look to the bottom of this tweet from Foreplay, the Barstool Sports podcast on golf. The PGA Tour's cutoff for returning major Players Championship winners is 2022. Phil Mickelson won the PGA Championship in 2021. If you look to the first comment underneath, it's Phil, laughing emojis, clapping emojis, acknowledging this. Phil Mickelson's a bit of a wild man on social media, by the way. I don't know if you guys follow him or not, but he's got some pretty wild tweets and posts that he likes to put out there. But this PGA Tour's decision to allow Brooks Koepka back, he will play in a couple of weeks at the Farmers. Bryson DeChambeau is considering a return to the PGA Tour. And reportedly, Jon Rahm is not interested in leaving the LIV to go back to the PGA Tour. He's perfectly comfortable where he is. But, I mean, this is essentially the end of the LIV Tour. I mean, this experiment with the Saudi Arabian money, I mean, we'll have to see if that tour continues. If there's a mass exodus and all the big name players who got paid so much money 2 years ago to leave the PGA Tour are now going back to the PGA Tour, you have to think that LIV is done, that that's going to be the end for that tour. It is interesting to see how the golf world will respond to Brooks Koepka. He is talking and saying all the right things at the moment, that he has a lot of bridges to mend, that he has a lot of relationships he has to fix about what happened when he left for LIV and what he said about the PGA Tour and everything that kind of went into the decision to take the money. He's trying to do the right thing. I think he's, hat in hand, and he's coming back saying, hey, I want to be a part of this. This is where we are. And yes, I could totally see Tiger being that petty. Of course. I mean, remember, Tiger was the one that stood there, and him and Rory were both the two that kind of stood there and said to all the PGA Tour players, like, you're going to stay. And if you go, you're never going to be allowed back. Now, we all kind of knew that was a joke, but there's going to be some level of pain levied against these players, and to keep Phil, who is arguably, I mean, Phil is done, right? I mean, Phil's not going to be a competitive guy on the PGA Tour ever again. Senior Tour, maybe if he wants to play it, but not the PGA Tour. And so it's a way of sticking it to Phil, who has been, he was kind of the Pied Piper for this whole thing with LIV. And, there's a million rumors as to why that was. Paying off his gambling debts, paying off Billy Walters, like a million rumors that were very public and well known about Phil Mickelson and his decision to leave the PGA Tour. I'm glad that Brooks is back. I'm glad that at least he's looking at it, that Bryson DeChambeau is looking at it. The best players in the world should all be playing on the same tour. I don't really care if it's LIV or the PGA, but there should be a standard. There should be a top level tour. And whatever that top level tour is, I want all the best players week in and week out competing, not just in the majors. Because if you are a golf fan, and I'm a golf fan, I want to watch golf every weekend. The majors are awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love the Masters and the US Open and whatnot, but I like watching other tournaments that have big ticket, big money, big purses, that are on different golf courses, that we see incredible finishes and incredible golf. And we haven't had that for the last couple of years, right? We've had amazing finishes in amazing major tournaments. They've been great, but the week in and week out PGA Tour events are lacking star power, are lacking some real deep depth, talent. And so to get that all back, I'm in love with that. and I love this. Koepka's going to give $5 million to charity to come back. He can afford it. That's no big deal. That's great. Penalize them all. I don't care. It's just money. Brooks has got plenty of it. So go ahead and let them do that. But get them all back. Get all the live guys back. Bring them all back. Like, let bygones be bygones. Let them all back. Let's go ahead and do this. It's more fun for golf fans. It's better for all of us if we're going to go ahead and do this. If you guys are watching live on the YouTube and X streams, don't move. More to come. Same thing on Instagram. If you guys are watching on the replay on Sports Grid Television, thank you for watching. We appreciate you every night staying up late watching us on Sports Grid. We are back tomorrow, same place, same time, 1 a.m. Eastern time. The rest of you guys, bonus time. I don't know if I can give you a breaking news sounder for this, JC from KC, but the Royals are doing this again. They're gonna move the fences in again. So the second time they've done that, trying to give more offense to their home team. You know, that's the fun of baseball, right? If you don't like the setup, just change it. It says, change it. So on that. Has the PGA Tour lost the casual fan forever, even though they all left for live? I think the PGA Tour lost the casual when Tiger Woods retired. And so they need to find a crossover superstar. They need somebody who is going to be able to captivate the audience and make people talk at the water cooler on Monday. The PGA Tour doesn't have that right now. You know, there was a time when I was growing up, when I was coming up, where we would talk about Tiger week in and week out every Monday, right? You would be like, "Do you see what Tiger did yesterday? Man, he shot 16 under on, some golf course. Tiger, won the tournament by 10 strokes or whatever it might be. Or Tiger and Phil were battling, or Tiger and Adam Scott were battling. But it was always kind of built around one captivating figure. So the Phil versus Tiger rivalry was intense, incredible. We had Arnie and Jack. I didn't grow up through that. I was too young, but I had Phil and Tiger, the whole thing. And so I think you need to, over time, over history, I think you need to find that again to bring the casual back, to bring the average fan who doesn't play golf, who doesn't like the game, who doesn't follow the game. I mean, I argue all the time with my daughter when I'm watching golf. She's like, this is the most boring thing in the world. I love watching golf on television. I love playing golf. I would love my daughter to play golf. Like I have, since she's been 2 years old, I've been trying to put a golf club in my daughter's hands, and she wants nothing to do with it. She is completely and totally out. Charlie Woods would be interesting. Okay. But how good is that kid going to be? I mean, there's so much pressure on him. I don't know how good he's going to be. Let's see what he turns into. But yeah, something like that. Sure. It would be funny if one of Phil's kids became a really good golfer too. I don't know. He has all daughters though, right? Does Phil have a son? I don't think Phil has a son. I think he has all daughters. But something like that, right? Like one of Tiger's chief rivals, then the kids get involved. It's like a Happy Gilmore movie. But that's what I think needs to happen for the PGA Tour. We just don't have it. We just don't have it. It sucks, but we just don't have it at the moment. And that's why the casuals, I don't think, are paying attention. It sucks for that matter. Favorite thing about today. Favorite thing about today, and I did a little thing on this on my Instagram stories today, and I kind of want to bring it up again here for favorite thing about today. The reporter in Jacksonville who is taking all of the heat for giving Liam Cohen the attaboy during the press conference is such an interesting look based upon what side of that argument you're on. It's a little on. Sometimes there are stories in sports that I think you end up telling on yourself if you are a media member. And I think this is one of those stories where if you are vehemently against or vehemently for what this reporter said to Liam Cohen, when she basically said, keep your head up, young man, a 20-year professional media member who does not care what anyone says about her, quote, professionalism, because she recognizes what benefits the Jaguars brought to the market and what Liam Cohen did in 1 year, taking a team that had lost double digits to teams winning double-digit games and then hosting a playoff game, even though they lost to the Bills. The benefit of that, the positivity behind that media members are not allowed to talk positively or to give any type of, to acknowledge success and to commend somebody for success. Your media world has to be negative. We have to be nasty. We have to be critical. We cannot be positive or supportive of those people that we are covering, because we cannot cover people appropriately if we are fangirling or fanboying, like what people are accusing this reporter of doing. And probably about 15 years ago, if this story would have come out, I would have been on the side of the negative media members saying this was unprofessional and should not be allowed. I have changed the older that I have gotten. As I hit my 40s and now almost into my 50s, what I have seen in the media is the media in sports taking itself way too seriously and not understanding what the role is now for the media. And I know if I was talking to Pablo Torre, he would say to me, well, journalism is dead because nobody's funding it. And so since no one's funding sports journalism anymore, thus the media is now just a bunch of pom-pom waving people. And I do think there has to be a role for investigative journalism. There should be people who are compensated and paid to dive deep into those people doing things that are nefarious and wrong, to expose their behavior. That when somebody is stealing, when somebody is lying, when someone is doing something corrupt, we need media members to shine a light into the dark corners to showcase what is happening, so they cannot do it anymore and or be held to account for what they have done. But we've lost the love of the game. Dave and I used to talk about this a lot when it came to sports gambling, that if you can't watch a game without having money on it, you have a problem and should stop betting. That you should love sports first and foremost. The gambling is secondary, but your love of the game is why you watch. The love of the game is what brings you to the TV set or to the ballpark or to the football stadium. You love the sport first and foremost, and then to accentuate, to make it more fun, you then bet. But if the only reason why you're watching a game, you're betting Chinese basketball, is because you know nothing about the teams, but you know the number or the spread, and you're betting it because it's gambling and it's something to bet on, you're addicted. You have a gambling addiction and you should stop. Well, I feel the same way about sports. If you, as a media member, if you can't go to a game and just love the game, if you don't feel the same way that you once did as a 25-year-old covering your first football game or covering your first basketball game, if you don't feel the same type of energy and excitement, you should go do something else. You really should. You should go do something else. So, commends to Pat. Bravo, Pat McAfee, for pointing it out. Bravo to the reporter who did it. I think it's tremendous. More breaking. All right. According to whom? You guys are all saying this? Is it done for sure? Boots on the ground. It's done for sure. Who is reporting this? The Mike Tomlin is stepping down. Mike Tomlin is leaving the team. Less than 24 hours after losing, Mike Tomlin is voluntarily stepping down. He's not being fired. ESPN's reporting it. The Mike Tomlin is stepping down. Well, how about that? It has not hit the front page of ESPN as of yet. Let's see on where we are on Twitter X. Let's see. Well, I don't see it, guys. Where is it? I missed that. Aaron Rodgers said There are only a few special places in this league that have the tradition, the town, the organization, and I'm thankful to have played for two of them. Pittsburgh and Green Bay. A little shade being thrown at the Jets. I like that. Let me see. Where are we with Mike Tomlin, guys? I don't see it anywhere. Where are you guys reporting this? The Mike Tomlin stepping down. It's not on the front page of ESPN.com yet. And I don't see it on Twitter X yet, guys. Are you sure? We're not on Sports Grid, so it's a little easier to do this. So there it is. Okay. Mike Tomlin. Oh no, that's it. No, hold on. That's not it. There it is. Mike Tomlin has informed the Steelers he is stepping down as the team's head coach, according to Schefter and Jay Flower. Okay. 19 seasons, it comes to a close. So he's going to take the way out. He's going to let the ownership off the hook, and he's going to step down. So, okay. So now we are looking at, no, I don't get notification. No, do you know how many notifications I get? I don't get ESPN notifications. No, I don't. I probably should, but I don't. What is the best job open in the NFL at the moment? Baltimore is open. Pittsburgh is open. The Giants are open. The Titans are open. The Browns are open. Better job, Baltimore or Pittsburgh? That's a really interesting thought. What if Tomlin and Harbaugh flipped? What if Tomlin and Harbaugh? What if Harbaugh went to the Steelers and Tomlin went to the Ravens? The Raiders, the Falcons. Best job being the Raiders? I don't know. If I'm a young head coach, I think the Raider job is the best job. If I'm not for a Mike Tomlin or a John Harbaugh, but I do think it's the best job. Miami is open. The Jets are open. Yeah, that's a good point. What are we up to? 9 jobs that are open, and they're all waiting on John Harbaugh. Every job is waiting on Harbaugh to take a job. He is the biggest fish out there. Tomlin would be right behind him. I mean, I guess it's 1A and 1B. So now we got to wait for both those guys to take new jobs. John Harbaugh is coaching next year. I don't know. Mike Tomlin might work in TV next year. Mike Tomlin might not do this. Harbaugh to the Giants seems likely, Eric, but why hasn't that job been filled then? I don't understand. Like, why hasn't that been? It's been rumored so much, but he's taking phone calls with everybody and like, okay, so, Tomlin grabs Flores in an OC, Brian Dabble, to Vegas. Why is everyone thinking that Tomlin's coming to Vegas? It's like the third time you guys have said this today. Why do we think that Mike Tomlin's coming to Las Vegas? Does he have like a connection to Brady that I don't know about? Or to Mark Davis? I think the Raiders would be much better off hiring a younger head coach than a Mike Tomlin. Just my personal opinion. They did the Pete Carroll thing. It didn't work. Like championship winning old coach didn't work. Harbaugh would be great. I think getting Harbaugh here would be tremendous. That's not happening. Tomlin here, I'm not saying it wouldn't be a good hire. I'd take Mike Tomlin with the Raiders in 2 seconds, but I'm not sure Mike Tomlin with a young, unproven first pick overall Mendoza is something he wants to do. His quarterback was 43 years old this year. So this is going to be a wild carousel. Mike McDaniel in Vegas, I don't hate, by the way. That I don't hate. Mike McDaniel coming with the first pick in the draft, I don't hate that. I like Mike McDaniel. I think he just got a raw deal in Miami. Things just didn't break the right way for him in Miami. I think Mike McDaniel in Vegas could be really interesting. I think that actually could work, to be quite honest. So I like that idea personally. So Tomlin to Baltimore would be cool. Could you imagine that? How would they handle that? They would lose their minds. They'd lose their minds. So we'll do it tomorrow. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I mean, obviously we got a lot of things going on here. Yeah, Marcus Freeman to Pittsburgh could happen. I could 100% see that. Yes. Marcus Freeman leaving the Irish to go to Pittsburgh. Yep. I would say yes to that. That could absolutely happen. But again, Mike McDaniel to Vegas, I would like. I think he would work, but I don't know how Brady feels about him, given what happened with Stephen Ross and whatnot and that whole thing. So I don't know how that would be. Vegas should let the fans coach. You never know. So we'll see. The coaching carousel is red hot right now in the NFL. So we'll see how it all goes out. But Tomlin stepping down to end the show. We'll get into it coming up tomorrow on that. But Mike Tomlin is done after 19 years in Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin will not be the coach next season in Pittsburgh. Guys, thanks for watching. Thank you for Klay from Mental Handicappers for coming on in, talking about what they did with the Circa Millions, second to last place finish. Good stuff out of them. Back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time for the next new episode of BBB.